In this episode, I will answer how would the deaf white suck explain to Malala? Malala, I appreciate your offering to listen to me for a short discussion of my reasons for being vitriolically inclined in addressing Israel's antagonism towards the human race. Obviously, I've become very receptive to Palestinian dignities. That's not very surprising. Even before this got started in earnest, I was working in the honors department trying to explain in research paper format why the refugees were being caused by us, and therefore honor required that we be receptive towards them. It was slow going, painful, because I had been estranged for a long time due to my other research, in which your condition is almost an exhibition because you were shot in the face as I was, as Serpico was. They used a nerve agent on me. And it's an apparatus that created the grand spectacles of graphic revulsion that exist in pornography so that they could advocate for extreme measures. They're dehumanizing. My father was a school bus driver and a teacher and a human rights advocate as far back as the 40s. His forgotten book is on the shelves again. But my original sympathies were very strongly tied to the Jews. I spent my weekends, my family was Jewish. I missed them when they wouldn't call me. I was always reading people like Bruno Bettelheim with a great deal of engagement, even rapture, because of their learning. And their robust sentimentalism was also part of my own life. I danced the hora at the Three Rivers Arts Festival as a very small child in a group before thousands of people. So the violence that elements of the Zionist community visited on me was not the only side of my engagement with the Jewish community. And it was a long time coming to light that Gail Burson, who plied me with tons of letters and attentions and really wanted me to come on to her, was hostile, because usually affection like that isn't used as a form of hostility. Well, the tragedy of the Trojan horse of the Beatles explains how affection was used as a bomb. And I was working on that too. When I began to realize that everybody has to together stand up and put a stop to the Israeli affairs that are so morbid and berserk that they've become an ultimate fight in our living rooms. It was based on the lessons I had learned from the Jews that I stood up to them. And you may have heard me say this before. I do not know how attentive you are to me. But they gave me a book to read when I was a very small boy called That Was Then, This Is Now, which alone is a telltale title. And the moral of That Was Then, This Is Now is I just wanted to be sure that I hated you. Somebody called Nosferatu a deep, dark bastard or something like that. He's clearly a criminal, psychopath, in some sort of machine intelligence gizmo that he's just emitting with his wards of the state, super armed by the stupidity of an American Congress full of Fu Manchu fly-by-nights, with no commitment to any kind of responsibility whatsoever. But it seems to me that he's challenging American morality to point his finger at you and me and everyone else. This is what you did when the shoe was on the other foot, when it was Jews being lined up and herded to the crematorium. You stood there biting your nails and cheering for the perpetrators. Now you're cheering us, and you don't even see it's just as bad. We're making you relive the nightmare so we can hate you. And I just wanted to be sure that I was justified in hating you. Because the minds of the people who did this from the Jewish community are gigantic thinkers. Norm Finkelstein, Noam Chomsky, Blinken, that golem, hypnotized golem Joe Biden. He has access. All he had to do was call Trump, get Jimmy a hottie. And trot, 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 down she came the aisle with the whole Trumpy Tune franchise. And Joe, his wife, said, we'll stand to the side and listen while Jimmy gets it on with Rosine. And then he can explain to us. And these were the people who shot me in the face, playing their storyline. So they set up a peep show as some sort of counter story, endorsed by Sting and Oliver Stone and Ming-Na Wen and Peter Gabriel and Yoko Ono and Donald Trump, to the fact that they were the people who first forcibly loosened my morals as a child. They were the ones who deafened me so I couldn't go to school, so I had to shack up with somebody. It's very offensive, and they use names like Bernie S. and encrypted Slav Maniac in the last name. Called me the walrus and said they were scoring abortions on me and keeping tabs. They got this me parked by this place on MLK called Cedar Rivers. My father was from Cedar Rapids. And of course, they're out marching. Don't worry, honey, if you don't want the abortion, we'll help you put up for adoption and stuff. Because it's gizmology. It's Cracker Jacks with their Stratego board. And they don't care. They didn't care about my morality. They didn't. They locked me out of a church and wouldn't let me in. When a gang came to tear my head off, they deafened me when I was 11 years old, and they gave me nowhere to go except the shack. It's hideous perversion on the part of the Beatles and so on. They come up with this garbage line, could have saved John Lennon, but was hunting a virgin, that they all had orchestrated with, Andre Previn, My Dinner with Andre. And it's what it is it's targeting me as a symbolic American. That I had something for everyone. I was white, so the black people hated me. I was from Plymouth Meeting, so they get the Native Americans to hate me. I was blonde, so the Jews hated me. I was Irish, so the British hated me. I was from a World War II serviceman's family, so the Japanese hated me. And they called it this cluster bomb, this clusterfuck that they came up with. They called it a rainbow logic of equity. When the Vietnamese came, and got the conscientious objector in trouble with forces impinging on the persona's experience, successive degradations of the X motive. This is the parochial savage mindset that came out in their script. And the citizens ban situation is absolutely bizarre. The evidence of brutal slaughtering head blows and trauma is only possible to deny because they've agreed to deny it. And the sniveling over narration of the whole thing. I mean, if you're going to say somebody was hunting a virgin, shouldn't you at least be able to prove that they knew the girl that he was being seduced by was a virgin? If you're gonna say that you suspected a deaf man angry at women and capable of rape, would you put an innocent girl in his bedroom? The citizen ban has no comprehension of logic. It just is a drooling beast of prey. And Bernie Sanders and George Galloway are part of this drooling beast of prey. They came after me as a rave subject for their massacre system. And it was like the Moses of the dragon in the sea and the apocalypse parting the waters. By burning an effigy, a flesh and blood effigy for the American flag. And they say it's patriotism. Doesn't make any sense. You can't connect the dots. I know our mutual admiration for Greta is a tie that bonds, but you can't connect those kinds of dots. They don't make any sense. The idea that Arnold Schwarzenegger would sell Greta on the wings of Reagan, or that Owen Jones would sell a better, more benighted Israel on the wings of Reagan is upsetting me. Reagan sent me a list of priorities. At the bottom was ecology. It's about giving every American a piece with the expanding pie. It doesn't say ecology is big he-men with fathers who were from Nazi Germany riding bicycles. Even doesn't even say that. And if Owen Jones thinks he was sympathetic to Chantal and Sabra, he should look at the time frame. He was hedging on the issue of Gail Burst, and that was when they claimed they discovered Ariel Sharon was going around a blood libel, had the staged and phony intercept that they named the magazine group after. They who wrote the thing. Oh, look what we found. Oh, and shock, there's gambling going on. Which was a recurrent theme in New Republic back then, too, which was all about Israel. I used to read it in rapture. I liked the Israeli mindset. When they said in those days, Middle East is war is unthinkable. Yeah, there was nothing. There was nothing. I first saw the Derakuda can in the New Republic. So there's clearly a lot to say and judge about all of that. I get lost in things that could be said. It would be like it was before I knew Red Geiger. I was like 16 years old, and one of my best friends was the regular New Republic magazine. But these people wrote the book that they claimed to find. I mean, they're gigantically intelligent people. And they've created a smorgasbord of what Greg Carl called a bewildering myriad of surface details that arise at the fundamental theme, which is two virgins pussy ball for them. But try to put together the logic of it, and you get absolutely nowhere. Did anybody say to me, when you're growing up, always be honest because you're being tested at every turn by the powers that be? Don't allow the Jews to trick you into playing ring and run pranks or making phony phone calls. Always remember that you're meant to be alive 100 years and to raise a family. So wait until you're sure that you have found a woman you love and stand by her. Because if you don't, you will go to the gas chamber. They didn't even do that, which would be elementary courtesy if the U.S. government was actually in the business of pussy ball.